Hi. We're the Wiggles.
Should we do like a vocal warm-up? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Listen, start it again.
No? Is this thing on? Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the first instalment of this Eggsperts podcast series all about plastics and fertility. Who are the Eggsperts? We are a team of medical researchers who dedicate our efforts to investigating the mysteries of infertility. My name is Alex. I'm a postdoctoral researcher and I will be your host for this series. I'm here today with two of my fellow Eggsperts. They're both PhD students. We have Lachlan.
Hello.
Lachlan said hello. And we have Ava.
Hi guys.
All three of us work in this general area on plastics and fertility. Now, whilst we are colleagues, we are brand new to podcasting. This is our very first podcast together. So please, let us cook. This series will only get better as it goes on. We promise. I'm actually excited. How do you guys feel?
You're good. We love to hate plastics, so
We do.
we love talking about
We
it.
are certified haters of plastics.
And plastic endorsers.
Indeed. We're all wearing hats right now. You can't see that because this is a podcast, but my sidekicks are wearing bucket hats. And I'm wearing...
A babushka.
That's the Russian word for grandmother.
Alex is not wearing a grandmother.
I
She
look
looks
I look like a Slavic grandmother. I'm Polish.
Fun fact.
You, in your babushka,
Yeah.
you look like you read news articles on the Dirty Dozen.
So we're sitting here right now after our long work day. It is 5:22 p.m. and we're ready to dive into the backstory, the lore, if you will, of plastics and BPA. Plastic is literally everywhere, and that's not even including microplastics. Like, if you look around you, how many plastic things can you see? Like, looking around us in this room right now, the table is plastic. Is that plastic? That's plastic.
Yeah, it is.
The table's plastic. The whiteboard's plastic. The lights covers are plastic. The speaker. The keyboard. There's a lot of plastic.
Glasses.
Yeah, so food packaging, drinks, electronics, furniture, kitchen supplies, toys, medical devices, even hospital and lab consumables, it's all made of plastic. So, like, how did we even get here? Why do we use plastic? Well, here's a bit of a history. The very first plastic-like substance was made in 1869, and it was called celluloid. It was plant material derived, but it was very flammable. But this first substance that was created was able to replace ivory, elephant tusks, that were used to make like billiard balls, other stuff too, and replace tortoise shell. So great year to be an elephant or a tortoise. Just noting though that many elephants and tortoises are still critically endangered because of these practices that still occur, but they don't need to occur. Anywho, jumping forward to 1907, the first fully synthetic plastic was invented by a Belgian scientist called Leo Baekeland. Graceland. He made a product called Bakelite. And Bakelite was heat resistant. It was the first synthetic heat resistant plastic. And this was the birth of modern plastics.
Oh no!
So the first, this first fully synthetic plastic was made by combining phenol, and formaldehyde. It was a pretty revolutionary thing at the time because it was able to replace using natural finite resources that were more precious. The invention of plastics has been pivotal in the modernization and globalization of consumer goods in pretty much every category, including food. Food's really something that we're going to be talking more about in this podcast. It's really helped food product transport and preservation and food safety as well. Plastic really helps to keep outside contaminants like microbes, bacteria, dust, dirt.
Your dog.
the dog, external pollutants, off of food, even the air, away from food. Also, when it's used as a lining, or when plastic-like or resin-like substances are used as a lining, they stop the migration of metal particles into our food. So they're there to protect us and our food from the outside environment. They're also used for convenience. So plastic has revolutionized convenience, pre-made foods, individual portions, processed foods, snacks, its advanced processes like food production.
I've found when I've searched things like vehicles comes up a lot. Vehicles and technology as
Well,
something that's
makes sense,
benefited
doesn't
from
it?
plastic.
I mean, like, a lot of car parts are made of plastic. So true. So true, bestie. So it has really advanced processes like food production, vehicle production, basically everything. Lasting alternatives to plastic, like glass and metal that have existed for many, many years, are harder to shape than plastic and are heavier. So they're a little bit limited with their applications. But plastic is cheap to make and convenient to dispose of. So it's convenient in every aspect. Also, its mass production began prior to environmental considerations and toxicity considerations. So they really did us dirty with that one. Speaking of toxicity, well, let's talk a bit about what plastic is actually made from and what are bisphenols or BPA. So plastic can be one of two categories. It can be synthetic or it can be bio-based or naturally derived. Synthetic plastic is the most common type, and it's made from crude oil or petroleum or natural gas even. So it's made from fossil fuels, non-renewable energy. Bio-based plastics are made from renewable products such as carbohydrates, starch, vegetable fats and oils, bacteria, and other biological substances. So these are definitely becoming more popular over time, which is funny because synthetic plastics, as we just learned before, replaced natural ones to begin with. But they have more limitations and then typically not as lasting and heat resistant, etc. So
Do they degrade any differently to standard plastics? Do you know?
well, there are biodegradable plastics, right?
Mm.
So I come across a lot like those compostable plastics. I don't know about the differences. We've got Lachlan, our researcher, straight onto that question.
So BioPak, which is one type of, I believe it's a plant-based plastic, is designed to be biodegradable. Not all plant-based plastics are biodegradable. Plant-based refers to the source material. Biodegradable refers to the ability to break down, but many plant-based products aren't necessarily biodegradable.
Just a slight deviation from our program for a minute. A lot of those plant-based plastics, the hard thing about them is that they still require the same chemicals to polymerize them. So it's like still the same problem, still using the same chemicals. Anyway, let's get into that. So plastics are most commonly synthetic or man-made and made from non-renewable resources. So the crude oil is extracted from the ground and then refined by heating and distilling, separating into its different components. So one of the lighter fractions in this process is the main one used for plastics. And just revisiting high school chemistry for just one little minute, monomers need to be made into polymers to make plastic. So adding onto a chain, essentially. They do this by adding, Ava's doing some really good hand signals.
Mono one to poly many. Boom.
Yes, like that.
If you could see my hands, I am depicting some physical chemistry.
She's depicting adding chemical bonds to form chains using a catalyst. Some common examples of polymers in plastics are things like polyethylene, the poly meaning polymer, polystyrene, polyvinyl chloride. These are all very common substances that we come across and touch probably every day. So if there's one thing I ever learned in chemistry, it really is that everything is just carbon chains. Everything is carbon chains. It's actually ridiculous. I guess because I think about things in isolation so much, reminding myself of this fact that like other fractions from the crude oil make gasoline, diesel, bitumen, which is roads. It's roads, paraffin. and petroleum gas. Like, I just forgot that plastic comes from the same substance that all those other things come from. This is crude oil's world, and we're just living in it. This really raises the question, what exactly are bisphenols? What is BPA? Bisphenols are a group. BPA, or bisphenol A, is one of the chemicals in this group. And these are a group of chemicals used in that polymerization process to make certain... Lachlan, I mean, I've just... What?
Nothing. Just making eye contact with Ava.
Do you think bisphenols are a joke?
Yeah.
I think they are a joke.
Are they a joke to you?
Yes. Stop giving power to these chemicals.
Bisphenols are a chemical used in this polymerization process to make certain types of plastics, mainly polycarbonate. These plastics are typically hard, clear, and heat resistant. It's also used to make epoxy resin, which can form a coating over things, and in the context of food packaging is that coating inside metal cans that I mentioned earlier. The bottom line is that it's an ingredient in plastic. Also, interesting to note, maybe I shouldn't say interesting, scandalously, BPA has also been detected in other types of plastic that it's not supposed to be in. And it's maybe not even used in their production. So it can be a common contaminant found in these spaces. Another type of plastic that's pretty susceptible to contamination is recycled plastic. Because unfortunately, although it's good for us to reduce, reuse, and recycle, it's not coming from a pure source. I'm not saying boycott recycled plastics. Please use them, but just consider in what contexts they are used. So what is BPA in? So as I said, it's in polycarbonate plastics, epoxy resins, which are, we've got plastic containers and bottles, all different types of lots of outdoor plastics, big on the BPA. Cans, tins, lots of different linings. It's riddled within lots of things, and it's not always easy to tell what type of plastic it is. But you can get a little bit of information about that from the recycling code if you're in Australia on the bottom of your plastic thing. Common examples of food and drinks that have been found to have detectable levels of BPA. Some of these things include infant food products, canned drinks, and different canned or tinned products like tinned tomatoes, soups, baked beans, and stuff like that. And we'll talk about and explore why this is a problem a little bit in this podcast and in future episodes. But really what's happening here and why are these things contaminated with BPA? Well, it's because the BPA from the plastic that is packaging these products can migrate into the food or drink. That migration or leaching can be accelerated or made worse if it's exposed to certain conditions like being heated up. Repeated use, like think of an old container, that's going to be maybe a little bit damaged over time, so it's going to leach more. And also, if your food or drink is more acidic, that makes it worse.
Even just detergent from the heat, what am I trying to say? Heating them, say in the microwave, will leach plastic, but even cleaning them, the exposure to heat in addition to the exposure to detergents will further exacerbate that BPA release, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, we really can't avoid it, can we?
This is a reminder to also chuck the old pump bottle in the back of your car in the bin. Because that thing is heating up. That thing is heating up and you've used it for 5 years now. It's time for it to go.
Oh my gosh, 5 years.
Friendly reminder.
And even if that plastic drink bottle doesn't have BPA, it's got another endocrine disrupting chemical in it that's affecting you. So throw it out.
There's some microorganisms in there.
Yeah. So us humans, and animals as well, but that's a different story, are exposed to bisphenols in our diets. It's estimated that over 90% of BPA exposure is from what we consume in our food and drinks. So it's oral. We eat it, it gets absorbed orally or in our GI tract, in our intestines, in our stomach, all of the above, and then it's metabolized in our body. So our body metabolizes it essentially to, if you will, detoxify it, make it less, our bodies want to make it less reactive so it can't cause damage. But that metabolizing process takes time. It is relatively quick though. So most of the bisphenols in our bodies are excreted in our urine within 24 to 48 hours. Do the experts agree?
Mm-hmm.
They agree. This is a controversial area, the metabolism of BPA. The most controversial part is probably whether all of that BPA is actually excreted. So like there are some studies that have found BPA can actually bioaccumulate in like fat tissue, although it's not typically seen as a contaminant that sticks around in your body. We are finding some evidence of that. We're finding that it can be detected in the placenta or in the fetus.
Follicular fluid.
Follicular fluid, which surrounds our favourite cell, the eggs. Eggs. We didn't have an egg. Do you want an egg?
I'm okay. It'll spoil my dinner. My
Yeah, I was
BPA-free
thinking
dinner.
that
Heated in a glass container.
it is almost dinner time.
Past dinner time.
It's past Ava's dinner time. So the topic of what exactly happens from the moment it enters our mouths to leaves in our urine, we know mostly, but the specifics are up for debate. So the reason BPA and other types of bisphenols are a problem is because they're endocrine disrupting chemicals. So what are endocrine disrupting chemicals? They're essentially hormone disruptors. So the endocrine system is a network of glands and tissues that produce and release hormones. And hormones are the chemical messengers of the body. It's how all of our cells and organs interact and function. So it disrupts this process. There are lots of other types of chemicals that do this. There are different groups. Something about BPA and other bisphenols is that it not only interferes with or can interfere with our hormone signaling, but it can also disrupt non-hormone cellular pathways. It can have an impact on things like inflammation. There is a non-exhaustive list, essentially, of all the pathways. Some other examples of endocrine disrupting chemicals that you may or may not have heard of include phthalates, which are a different type of chemical in plastic.
Like
They're
soft
used to
plastics.
soften. They're used to soften plastics, so they're often found in like rubber and things like that.
Yeah. So they're like
the opposite.
the easy breezy cousin of BPA.
Mm-hmm.
They're flexible. Also, atrazine is a pretty well documented one, which is in herbicides. I think it's banned in some places. And then one that's like really emerging to be quite a big issue are the PFASs, which stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances.
Dun, dun, dun.
PFASs are commonly known as the forever chemicals because unlike BPA and bisphenols, they do not break down. They stay forever. So if you ingest it, it's staying in your body forever. These are used in things like firefighting foam, which is why military bases and places where they do training exercises or like where planes exist have really high PFAS contamination and affects the surrounding communities of those areas. And that is something that is being investigated more thoroughly now. Also, things like non-stick pans. Yeah. You start to see like on packaging of non-stick pans, like, oh, this PFAS free or whatever, sort of like you see stuff that says BPA free. I don't really know for sure how to tell if they're tricking me or not with that messaging. Pretty much these different endocrine disrupting chemicals, they can impact pretty much all of the organs and systems in our bodies in various ways. Some are more well documented than others. Of our particular interest is how it can impact the reproductive system, specifically the egg, and the ovary. We love eggs. Love eggs. So, future episodes of this podcast will be breaking down and investigating how bisphenols impact our eggs, what we know, what we can do about it, etc. All that good stuff. Oh, and a spicy history of the regulations of BPA pertaining to government organisations.
Some shady stuff.
Definitely stay tuned if you are keen to hear more about these things.
Goodbye, fans.
I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much to my fellow Eggsperts, Lachlan and Ava, for joining me today. And thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please check out our other amazing series on the Eggsperts podcast channel, where we talk about things like what IVF clinics don't tell you, sex education, fertility myths, and fertility and aging. So stay tuned for more episodes on the Eggsperts. I feel like I should re-say that last.
1, 2, 3, the Eggsperts.
1, 2, 3, the Eggsperts.
That was good.
Okay, that's all we have.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Throw out that
Hooroo.
water bottle.
See you next time. Hee hee. Bloopers. We are a team of medical research. Lachlan!
Stop it, Lockie.
Lachlan!
Stop.
You're killing me. What am I doing? You're like... Yeah. I want it to be organic. Boots.